When cleaning your hands, this is the process to follow. If you've got any rings on, first take your rings off. If you've got a watch on, take your watch off. Use either soap and water, which is preferable, or if you've got no access to soap and water, use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. First, clean the palms of your hand, interlock your fingers and clean the in between fingers, then do the back of the fingers on both sides, then clean each digit. So you want to clean each finger individually. Then you want to do the nails on both hands, and then clean the back of your hands up to your wrist on both sides. The ones that you want to try and get are these type of masks that are available across a number of shops, and these are the ones that are provided by the government to NHS staff. They won't always be available because we do need to reserve them for healthcare workers, but I have noticed that in many shops they do sell these. They're not cheap and they're not long lasting either. But when using one of these masks, always handle it from the ear hoop. Don't touch the main front of the mask or the back of the mask. Use it using this part. Now, when applying one of these masks or using these masks, I'm going to show you quickly how to do it. Firstly, hold the loops, put them around the ear, pull it down so it's under the chin. Now, what you want to do is make sure that the mask is on the bridge of the nose and you've got a metal strip there. You want to gently push that strip in to get a nice firm seal at the top. Also, make sure that the mask goes under the chin so that whole area is now covered. Now, once you've got the mask on, avoid touching the front of the mask, and if you need to take it off, always take it off using the loops on the sides. Now, the way to do this is first always sanitize your hands by the method shown on how to clean your hands at the beginning. Then apply the mask, touch the bridge, make sure it goes right under the chin, and then leave it. If at any point during the day you need to touch the mask again, you must sanitize your hands after you've rearranged the mask itself. The way to take the mask off is to put your fingers round the loops and then take it off, and make sure that you always sanitize your hands after you've removed the mask. Now, some of the things that I've noticed people doing which makes this mask ineffective is as follows. They'll have the mask on, but what they'll do is, so they can talk and breathe a bit easier, is keep it like this. Now, if your nose is exposed and your nostrils are open, there's a risk that you're going to get the virus going up into the nose. The mask is useless. Also, I've seen people doing this and keeping the mouth and the nose open. Well, there's no point having the mask on. And one of the worst things I've seen is that people will keep the mask here on the neck. Now, you will notice that when I had the mask on the right way, which is up to the bridge of the nose and under the chin, you can see that all that part of my neck is exposed. Now, if I'm in the vicinity of somebody who's been coughing or even they've got any infection, then the droplets can go onto my neck in that area. And you can see that as I move the mask down onto my neck area, the inside of that mask now is touching my neck. So as soon as I then raise the mask up and put it back into its position, the inside of that mask, which is now infected because I've had it on my neck, is right next to my nostrils and mouth, making it a high risk of me getting COVID-19 if that virus was on my neck. Once you've finished using the mask and you've safely taken it off using the loops, you can dispose of the mask in any domestic waste bin. After you've disposed of the mask, always remember to wash your hands. People at work, your employer may be able to provide these masks. If they can provide a mask, you should not use one mask for any longer than 1 day at a time. These masks are not meant to be used day after day, and the risk is that if the outside of the mask is infected and you then put it on the following day, then that infection could end up in you. So only use it 1 day at a time. Now, for those of you like me who wear glasses, sometimes what we tend to find is that our glasses get misty when we've got the mask on properly. So what you can do is push the bridge of the mask as high as you can, and then put the glasses on top, which should reduce the amount of fogging up you get in your lenses. One of the other techniques I have seen is that if you wash the lens on the inside and outside with soapy water, then that reduces the amount of misting you get on your lenses as well. If you are COVID positive and you're living with other people in the house, then according to the current rules, you will be in quarantine for 10 days and they will be quarantined for 14 days. Now, as far as you can, try and restrict your movements to within one room, but if you feel that the environment you're living in doesn't allow for you to be restricted to one room, then wear a mask in the house to minimize the risk of anyone else in the house getting the infection from you. If they should develop symptoms, then clearly they need to arrange a COVID swab test. Under the lockdown rules, people who are carers can still go to other people's homes that they are looking after, that they are a carer for. The carers should wear a mask and wear it properly, and they should only wear a mask for the duration of that visit, and they should dispose of the mask before leaving the house. If, as a carer, they have more than one venue to go to, then they should be using a new mask for each home they go into to avoid the transmission of COVID-19 from one house to another. For the individual who is living at the house who's a carer, ideally they should have a mask on as well while the carer is within the house to further minimise the risk of any transmission of infection. Within a social or work environment, if you're going to be in the vicinity of other people with a distance of less than 2 metres, then as far as possible you should wear a mask to reduce transmission of infection. Now finally, many people tend to wear face coverings rather than face masks, and although these are for daily use and they can be disposed of, the face coverings are more long term and people tend to use face coverings day after day. Now the bit that you have to be careful of is that the outside of those face coverings could be carrying infection, and as you use it day after day, if you don't clean these face coverings properly, then you are at a higher risk of getting the infection. In the ideal situation, what you want to do is have at least 3 different face coverings which you can rotate on a daily basis, and each night after you've used the face covering, wash it with soap and water and let it dry overnight using a new face covering the next day. And then you will have a 3-day cycle when on day 4 you will use the same covering as you did on day 1. If you're unable to get a supply of 3 different face coverings, then you can use the same covering, but each night wash the mask or the covering with soap and water and let it thoroughly dry before using it the following day. If you're in the vicinity of other people with more than 2 meters distance, and especially at work where you have a workstation with at least 2 meters in between different workstations, then you can remove your mask and work without a mask. If you need to leave your workstation, you should put the mask back on while you are moving around your work environment. If you are working with a distance of less than 2 meters, in between your workstation and your colleague's workstation, then you should try and keep your mask on at all times to minimize the risk of infection. A group of doctors with myself has created a little toolkit which is online that you can use. You can put your age, your sex, your other medical conditions if you have any, and the system will generate whether you have a low risk, a medium risk, or a high risk of complications should you develop an infection with COVID-19, and it will give you some guidance on what you can do to try and mitigate these risks. So below is the website address that you can go onto. It's free, so by all means log on, put in your information and see what result you get. I hope you found that useful.